What's going on, everybody? It's another week here on the Whiskeyed Gingers podcast. As always, I'm Brandon. That's Chris, and it's been a little while, but we're finally back at the studio. In essence, I mean, during the winter, it's a little bit tough. If you could see to my right, this is an all-season room, so it's it is just screening. So pretty much December, January, February, we are typically either outside freezing our ass off, or we're inside on my dining room table. But today, it's nice to kind of be back out here.
Yeah, and I mean, of the weeks we've had, it's actually kind of on the chillier side for this time of the year. We've been getting pretty lucky with the weather. We got a little bit of a dip in the weather right now, but still plenty comfortable to be out here. It's our favorite place to film the pod, so we're happy to be back at it.
And we got the restaurant heater. If you see an orange glow over Chris and I, there's a big electric heater right over our heads. So we're staying warm enough. My ice is starting to melt a little bit in the glass, so everything's good on the temperature side of things. And this week was my turn to pick the whiskey. We kind of had a backlog for a while. So there's either been whiskeys that Chris had seen that he knew he wanted to get, or things that we had been sent and wanted to work through, or things that we've been gifted. So this was my first time in probably at least 2 months picking out the whiskey. So it was kind of nice. It was kind of fun. Got back to the good old Total Wine. If you have one in your area, I can't recommend it enough. It's like Costco if it was only liquor. And every time I go in there, I meet there's great people that work there, and this was heavily recommended by Dan. So shout out Dan from Delaware location. I wanted to just walk around and look, and he kept tracking me down and saying, there was 3 of these when I first got there. I said, look, if I get one, I get one. If I don't, I don't, whatever. They start moving. Dan set one aside for me, came and got me. He was like, look, I put one aside. You really need to drink this one. Trust me on this. So, Dan, we got it. Dark Hedges, Irish whiskey, finished in cognac casks. So there were 2 different options here. There's 3. Finished in rum barrels, finished in cognac casks, and finished in stout barrels. He was able to snag me a cognac casks one, so this is what we're gonna do.
By no other reason than that's the one he picked, which, to be fair, it kind of removed some of the thought process out of it. It's like you might have got tied up on which one to get otherwise, so kind of worked out well. But no, it is cool that we have the option to go. I like waiting sometimes a little bit too. Like you said, we had that backlog for a while. Sometimes it's nice to give it a month or so before you go back to your local store, because their selection can truthfully change a lot. I mean, I've said it before, my local store actually is not too shabby. They have pretty decent selection, and again, because we've had so many good things lately, I haven't had to go. And I was in there the other day, and I was thinking to myself, wow, there's a lot of new stuff now. It gives us like a lot of good opportunities for picking up new stuff for us to review.
So that was nice. This is also our first boxed whiskey, I think. I can never remember having another one like that.
It's more like a packaging thing than anything else, though. I mean, like, I don't think it stands testament to it being significantly higher priced than anything else. You didn't tell me what it is, and don't tell me yet, but I guess we'll be curious. I'll be curious to try and guess how much it is later.
What was kind of funny with the box was this liquor store is not in a particularly great neighborhood. So I put my life on the line for this podcast, and as I'm checking out, the guy cuts open the seal. I don't know if you can quite tell, but the top of the box is a little bit fucked up. He cuts the seal open the box because, and I guess, if you really wanted to, you could get this box, take this whiskey out, ask an employee to open up, maybe one of the top shelf bottles, put that in the box, and pay not top shelf prices. I didn't even cross my mind, but
so they had to double check to make sure that's what was definitely in there. That's very funny. I wouldn't have thought that was as big of a problem as it sounds like it is, but you never know.
Not where this is. As soon as he explained it, I was like, "Whoa, hey!" And he's like, "I got to make sure you put the actual whiskey in there." Like, all right, I kind of see where you would get that. But speaking of the actual whiskey, I did get a glimpse at this in the store, and I think you'll probably notice the same thing I noticed right away.
It's light.
It is the lightest whiskey I think we've ever had.
It's really light,
which typically has not been a great sign for us. I think most of the light whiskeys have been not very flavorful, a little watery.
Your Flyers jersey, like sweatshirt, was actually making it look darker for a second. Like
so when it's here, I guess it looks like a whiskey. when you move it up, it's very translucent.
Yeah.
It's a big order.
No, for sure. But I think it'll be interesting to try. Maybe it'll change our perspective on some of the lighter ones. We've been enjoying the darker ones, and we'll see how we like this one.
Yeah, I hope so. But without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to the expert here to pop this open.
Amazing.
We have the plastic ring around it, so you're going to have to give us another 10, 15 seconds more than usual.
Yeah.
I didn't see if it was perforated anyway.
Yeah, I was just looking for that, and it was kind of hard to tell. So
Looks like we got it, though. It's a big cap.
it is. That could be a good sign.
Yeah.
All right, let's give it an open.
Let's see. Good. Okay, good start.
Good cork.
Good start. Not that
Amazing.
it has anything to do with the whiskey, but it's a lot of fun.
We will get like a compilation of that at some
That would
point.
be fun.
Cork popping
Yeah.
compilation. It is super light. Even
It's
seeing it like in the
crazy.
glass,
Yeah.
it kind of gives me like tequila.
It reminds me of
Color.
the Mexican whiskey a little bit.
It
Which
does.
helps.
It does. It kind of smells like it a
Which
little
I'm
bit.
really
too.
hoping it's not the case.
Yeah, it's definitely very
It
interesting.
does smell a little bit like it also. You're not
Yeah,
wrong.
it was weird. I don't know why. It would have nothing to do with that
Yeah,
on this one.
Cognac together with the spectrum.
Yep.
Well, let's
Interesting.
let's see what we got.
Cheers to you.
Cheers. Dan.
It does have a good Irish whiskey taste to it. Like,
It does.
tastes more like an Irish whiskey than I was expecting based on how it smelled.
Yeah. It's
Because it
very
really
light.
did. It did smell really, really out of the ordinary. I
Yeah.
would say, but it tastes like an Irish whiskey would. I think it's a little light on
Yeah.
flavor, but it's kind of refreshing in the sense that it's not you're not punched right in the teeth with flavor.
No, it's a good change of pace whiskey. I think the reason I said, like Dan, the way that I did was the way it was, explained to me was, look, we never can keep this stuff in. It's great whiskey. You've got to try it. Like all this.
Mm-hmm.
If this was given to me as, hey, we don't have this in too often. It's kind of fun. Give it a shot. I would have gone into it differently.
Yeah.
This is good whiskey. It is like B- all day long. It's just fine whiskey. But when someone's telling you, like, dude, I held this aside for you, got like all that, it's not that.
You don't think it lived up to the hype there?
I don't personally.
Yeah.
I mean, like I would talk to somebody about Basil Hayden that way, and I don't think this can hold a candle.
Yeah, no, I tend to agree with you there. One cool thing is it is made in Ireland. It looks like it's distilled and bottled in Ireland. It just shipped here,
Okay. That's neat.
like through Connecticut. It looks like, but it looks like its whole life is through Ireland,
Okay.
which is kind of fun. So it is a true to bones Irish whiskey,
That's something.
and I think that's why you get a good Irish whiskey profile to it. Like it does, it has that underlying sweet tone to it.
It is light, like you said. It's very easy to drink.
Oh yeah.
If that is your goal and you want to find a whiskey that, if that real strong flavor bothers you, this is a great whiskey.
It's a good starting point, and we've kind of said that about Irish whiskeys in general. Like,
yeah,
I would recommend to people that can't really stand whiskey or having a hard time getting into it. Irish whiskey
this
is probably
is a great
your
place to start.
it's probably your good go-to spot because you really can't go wrong. You're not going to get punched with flavor, and it's a really good buy-in.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, this is really easy. You could have there's no burn, like zero burn.
Yeah, I would agree with
So
that.
you could have 2 glasses and not get that acidy feeling or like that
Mhm.
get warm or anything like that.
No, I think the more I'm drinking it, the more I have an appreciation for it. I don't want to say it's my favorite thing that I've ever tried because that
Yeah.
wouldn't be a factual statement. There's plenty of Irish whiskeys that I like more than this, and there's plenty of whiskeys in general that I like more
Yeah.
than this. But I do think that it has a pretty decent flavor to it, and I think that, like you said, it's easy to drink. So I mean, I don't want to write it off because I don't want to say it's bad because it's not.
No, it's
I guess
good in
it's
its own
my-
lane.
Yeah, I think the expectations just were set. The bar was set really high.
Yeah,
And it's always better to set your bar a little low
Yeah.
and then be, intrigued and excited by something rather than setting your bar super high and then being slightly disappointed by something.
yeah. This has its place in the whiskey world, and we have a separate let's drink about it, but it kind of makes me think like you and I have become so desensitized to whiskey, like just because we drink it because we enjoy it.
Yeah.
And over the weekend we had people over for a party, and God help me, but we were doing shots, and 1792 is a very good whiskey. It wasn't my favorite whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's part of my collection that I'm going to offer for people to do shots, it's something that I'm not going to drink casually. I know doing shots of 1792 is frowned upon in this community. I understand.
Just trying to get rid of the stock that you don't like.
It's just not my thing. So
Yeah.
we did shots of it. And I took mine and I was like, oh, nobody else is having a good time. Everyone else is miserable.
I think that we've kind of touched on this in the past before too, but it's like I didn't realize that our collections were growing as much as they were, or like how many we've sampled and tried, and how that affects us as like a person. Yeah, no problem. Because we definitely, like, when I talk about whiskey with other people that are not in the circle or not you, essentially, most people are like, I've only ever tried like 1 or 2 different whiskeys. Usually that's not my thing.
Jack, Jim, Jameson.
Exactly. Like all the main starters, maybe you'll get somebody that has tried something a little bit more on the expensive side, but rarely do you get people that are going out and buying all these different normal priced bottles and just trying them out. I mean, it's to the point where like I literally pick a bottle in the store, and this is 100% honest, if I think it looks cool.
Yeah.
At this point, like, I mean, we've tried so many, and that we're looking for new ones that if I think their marketing is good because the bottle looks approachable, I'm buying it, and we'll see how it is.
Because some of those we've loved, and
Yeah.
you've expected it to be kind of like gimmicky, and it's been great.
And I mean, that's what makes the marketing work in reality, is it's like I reached for that bottle because it was like kind of cool looking, or, whatever the reason may be. I think that that's a testament to the marketing on some of these. And you do really see some clever marketing on, I'd say, like the $30 to $40 to $50 price range. They really dial in some cool bottles. Yeah, the designs, like walking around the liquor store, I think the designs on bourbons and whiskeys are way cooler than a lot of other ones. Oh, for sure. I think there's a market for that in general, and that's why it's kind of developed that way. I mean, vodka is like, it doesn't stand on its own. Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah. So like you're not going to worry about it too much. Things like rum and everything, some of those can have some decent bottles, but I think for the most part, tropical kind of S thing. I would say whiskey and tequila bottles probably have the most adventurous designs to them, which is kind of neat. Do you ever watch Moonshiners? I watched it, yeah. There's a guy whose name I remember is Tim Smith. Mm-hmm. He was a moonshiner that went legit, and I almost got his bottle because he has a bottle in Total Wine, just because it's like, hey, it's Tim Smith from Moonshiners. Like, not because it's probably great or anything. Yeah. But speaking of bottles, what do you think this one costs? That's a good question. I mean, and we kind of talked about it. Just because it's in a box, it doesn't mean that it's like a high-priced bottle. True. But I have seen a lot of them come in that. I would be willing to bet it's in like the $40 to $45 price range. Okay. So you'll be pleasantly surprised. I was the other way. It was $29.99. Oh, great. that's good news. So it's really good. It was, again, it added to kind of the lore that I had built up about this. Like, I thought I found the Holy Grail. Yeah. This was supposed to be limited edition, great whiskey, and it's $30. Yeah. I was like, it's Merry Christmas to me. This is a good $30 whiskey, though, when you know that. Yeah. Well, to be fair, that other Irish whiskey that we just had as well was really good too. That was that was also the $30 price point. I can't remember what the name was. On Twitter feed because I don't remember. It's literally last time's episode. Busker. Yeah, that one was really good too. I enjoyed Busker a lot. And that was the same price range. I got that on sale. It was $35. Okay. So I mean, maybe it would be a little bit more. Was this one on sale? No, this was straight up. This was straight 20. Hey, I mean, you know what? You really can't argue with that because the Busker's probably like a $40 bottle if it's not on sale. Yeah. So if you're telling me for $10 less, you can get this versus that, I'd still probably go the Busker. But me too. But it is cool to know that that's out there for that $30 range. 30 is a hard number. Yeah. I feel like we've only had a select few that were in that price point that really made me want to go out and get another bottle of it. Yeah. I mean, on the Irish side, the only one I can remember is Four Walls. On the bourbon side, there's been too many to count. I think bourbon's a little bit easier to find. It's a little more forgiving. Yeah. But it is tough. Once you get over 40, you're pretty much counting on a good bottle. I will say, though, if somebody knew that I liked whiskey and they were to bring this to me and, they pay, I don't know what they paid 30, I think it's cool. Yeah. It's unlike, I mean, it's not my favorite whiskey. It is different from anything I've ever had. Mm-hmm. And I appreciate, the uniqueness of it. Do you get any of the cognac like in the background? Not even a little bit. Yeah, I was kind of.
Personally, at least.
I'm thinking like trying to find out where it is, and I mean, I could imagine that maybe some of the like, I'm looking for some warmness is kind of where I would expect that to come from.
And it's the opposite. It's
And
refreshing.
Yeah,
It's light,
I
cold, and
don't
refreshing.
get it that much. So I don't know. Maybe it doesn't stay in there long enough for it to do that.
I don't know, but it was a good whiskey for tonight. And then I know for our let's drink about it, Chris had we're gonna a little bit of a get off my lawn kind of take.
Oh my gosh, it was
he had problems with the parking authority in Philadelphia.
A little ranty. It's not even the maybe there's like a tie-in for the PPA, right?
Okay.
Like maybe there is a tie-in for the Philly Parking Authority.
Mm-hmm.
But my problem is at work.
That should be another segment instead of you have let's drink about it and then here's my problem.
Here's my problem. Yeah. So the thing is, like, we had a job we were working on in the city today in Philly, and the parking in Philly, especially in Center City and like downtown, can get really tricky.
Yeah.
And it comes down to like either not having enough parking or it's just always taken, whatever. So got everybody set up on the job site today, and then as we were trying to find parking for our van that we had, our work van, I literally drove for 40 minutes around South Street. So we all know
South Street's bananas.
South Street is bananas. For those of you that don't know, it's like one of the worst areas to try and park in the city. It has nothing to do other than the fact that there's too many people and not enough places to put vehicles.
You're also allowed to park on both sides of the street and the median.
Yeah, pretty much everywhere. So I'm all the way in that area over there, and I drove from South Street all the way up to Spruce Street about 12 times in a big loop. It was like a 2-mile radius all the way around. And I did this probably 10 to 20 times going around over and over again. And we really just couldn't find a spot. So I'm just thinking in my head, I'm like, I literally don't know what to do, because typically if you're in the city, at least at some point you'll find a spot. Maybe it's like, maybe it's not desirable because maybe it's 10 blocks away or something, but I was striking out even doing that. I was miles away. Like we would have to take a bike to like get to where the job site was that we were working on. I'm like, this is ridiculous. I don't see anything. And what I started realizing, and the problem that I started having with Philly parking is, in these really congested areas, I get why it's desirable and why they do it and why the buildings had it. But people have personal like garages on some of these streets. And when you have a personal garage, I get it. You can't park in front of their garage because they're not going to be able to get in and out. But it literally negates like
it cuts half your parking.
It cuts like half your parking out. Then there was a ton of these 30-minute load zones, which you're going to get towed if you're there for too long, or you're going to get a stupid ticket. There's a bunch of handicap parking, which I'm actually okay with that. That like makes sense.
Yeah, I was going to steer you away from that one anyway.
That one makes sense. I'm okay with that. Like I can live with that as like reserved parking for something. But then I also wonder to myself, I'm like, all these people that live in the city, I would never own a car if I lived in the city, especially if you're working and doing everything that you're doing in the city. Wouldn't make a lot of sense, because the parking cost to like park your car at a daily lot or anything like that is astronomical, and I'm sure the parking passes are too. So it got me thinking, I'm like, how do you fix this problem? I'm like, I don't even know if you do fix this problem.
I'm ready for it. If you have a solution, I'm ready to hear it.
Yeah, there's no good solution.
Okay.
The first thing that came to mind was knock down a couple houses and put a parking garage somewhere. Like, that's all I can really think of. You're in a situation where everything's so tight, you have to go up. That's the whole philosophy in the city anyway. So, like, you have to go up or you have to go, like, underground. Maybe they could do, like, some underground parking lots or something. I don't know. But the biggest problem is, like, you really can't find parking. And the fact that I was driving around for 40 minutes... And you're really taking a gamble that somebody's going to be happening to be going to their car and leaving so that you can get in that spot. And even if they do, and you catch it as you're driving by, there's no shot that spot's there by the time you make it around. And because you're dealing with so many one ways, you can't just go up one street and pull a Yui. You got to go up like 5 streets and pull a Yui. So no, it's just, there's no winning with it. There's really not.
No, that's why people don't, typically don't drive if you live in the city. Philadelphia is a little bit unique because a lot of people drive in Philly who live in the city, which is kind of unusual. It has something to do with the fact that the SEPTA, the trains and subways are so goddamn awful.
People just avoid it like the plague.
Yeah, I mean, look, you don't have to be like. I mean, there are lines in the city on the subway where it's fine, but you don't have to be like a Karen or a suburbanite or whatever to not want to ride the Philadelphia subway between certain stops or at certain hours. So it's a genuine risk to your health and safety.
It's a little sketchy,
Yeah. So I mean, then people are forced to drive, and it's also a very residential city. Like, unlike New York, I mean, you drive around Manhattan, there aren't homes.
No.
It doesn't exist.
No.
Philadelphia, there's a fuck ton of houses.
Everything is a row home. Like literally, it's just every block is just packed with as many row homes as physically possible.
Yeah.
Row homes, condos nowadays as they're renovating. So we wind up doing like a lot of 3, 4, 5 floor condos, just like getting built up in the middle of there. And that's like kind of answering the question. It's like, how do you solve these problems? And I mean, I guess, one of them is going up.
Mm-hmm.
So you could put parking garages in, but the problem with parking garages is there's no land to put them on. So like you'd literally the city would have to buy out people's property and knock them down and put a parking garage there, which I don't think is going to go over so well with the community.
No, so it's interesting. I know this is a lot of local stuff, but this was nationally popular. There was a point where Philadelphia actually bombed one of its own blocks. I don't know if you're familiar with this.
I'm not familiar with this. This is pre me being a Pennsylvania resident. It was
pre me being born by a lot, but it's just something growing up here you kind of know. There was an activist group that was occupying a block in Philadelphia. They had overtaken homes. They were squatting. There was gun violence. There was all these kind of things. And the police had tried to get them out over and over and over again. And the way it kind of worked is I think it was in Southwest Philly. So let's say there was a street of 50 houses. Mm-hmm. 10 of these houses were occupied by this activist group that were, causing all kinds of trouble. But they were spread out. So it could be activist group, family, activist group, whatever. Yeah. The cops couldn't get anything done. And at that point, the mayor of the city had this brilliant idea. These are row homes, as you mentioned. Yeah. That they would napalm the houses that were occupied by these activist groups because they didn't know where else to go. No. The problem is
they're attached to each other.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the city of Philadelphia bombed an entire block of its own residents.
Hopefully, it at least warned the people that were living there that was going to happen. What a terrible solution.
They did, but they still didn't have homes to come back to.
Yeah.
It's like you going to work one day and missing an email that, we're bombing your block today.
Yeah, that wouldn't be great. I mean, like that is a weird one.
Yeah, if you look it up, I can't quite remember the name, but if you look up Philadelphia bombs its own citizens, it comes right up. And that was, when you were mentioning buying people out of their homes, that was just, a different approach that we had once taken.
Well, what is there's a name, it's like eminent domain, I think that's the name of that. Yeah. So like the government can literally just come and basically kick you out of your property because they're going to buy it at fair market value.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's like, I don't think that's true. But even if it was, it's like, what good is buying the property if that's like an option that can always happen to you? I was never for that. And I mean, that's a political place I don't always like to go, especially on something public like this. But it's like, because that's the thing. It's like, can you really even say you own it if the government can just take it anytime they want, essentially? It's like, no, not really.
We have a friend who was in eminent domain, actually. They were building they were adding a lane to a highway. They live off the highway. And where they, I shouldn't say screwed up, because I share the same belief as you. If it's my land, it's my land, and you can't take it.
Yeah.
So they were made an offer on the land initially, but they said, no, we're not leaving. This is our land. Mm-hmm. And then the government went, okay, we tried to be nice. Yep. Now we're going to eminent domain you. And she got $80,000 less.
Yeah. That's the tricky part about it. It's really not fair.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
For our historians out there, it's called the 1985 MOVE bombing. The MOVE group was the activist group. So, yeah, the Cobbs Creek neighborhood was napalmed by the Philadelphia police.
So what's really funny about that is when you think about it, it's like, all right, so they have this ongoing situation, and they have this, let's say they have this meeting to talk about this whole situation. They're like, all right, anybody got any ideas what we can do here? So like in my thought, you would have like these escalating situations. All right, we're going to get the cops involved. We're going to do this. Maybe we're going to get the SWAT team involved. We have some different programs we're going to try out. At what point did they just say, screw it, we're just going to go to the nuclear option, just bombing our own town?
Yeah, the Philadelphia police dropped 2 explosive devices from a helicopter, and then the fire department intentionally allowed the burn to grow out of control for 90 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
Destroying 62 homes over 2 city blocks, leaving 250 people homeless and killing 11.
And how many of the people killed or homeless were from the activist group? I think that'd be a funny statistic.
I don't have that statistic, and I know this is not a very good visual aid, but I mean, when I said they bombed the city block, they certainly bombed the city block.
That's insane. I can't even believe that happened.
Most people can't. It's very interesting that it doesn't come up more than it does.
If you would have told me that outside of the context of like this situation, I would have been like, no way.
Yeah, It is the number one stat that, like, not number one, I'm sure there's others, like how tall somebody is. But when you tell somebody something, they go, I got to look that up.
Yeah.
Like, because it just doesn't sound like something that would have actually happened. But
And it's not like it happened like
1985.
Like, yeah, I
Not
mean,
that
like
long
that's
ago.
a civilized time
Uh-huh.
period. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like there would be laws in place and things in place to prevent something like that from happening. But
You would think there were not.
okay,
I mean, Philadelphia being civilized is a stretch.
it's an oxymoron.
Yeah, I love it to death. I think it's great. I love the fact that they're ungovernable that way. But
Yeah.
anybody that saw the coverage from any of our when good things happen, we burn our city to the ground.
Yeah.
So I mean, you can imagine
When bad things happen, apparently we burn it extra.
Yeah, exactly. So you can't tell whether something good or bad is going on when the neighborhood's on fire in Philly. You just got to ask people.
That's
unfortunately.
crazy. I can't even believe that. But
No, but
thank you for sharing that
That's-
history lesson with us.
that's why Chris and I are a little bit further out in the burbs.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about anybody napalming our neighborhoods.
I would hope not. Here it'd be like some crazy person like going off at one of the bars or something and then coming around town would be your problem.
Yeah, I mean, the worst thing that's happened to me. I mean, I live a block off of downtown. Sometimes people get shot and a bar fight spills outside, so like
A little rowdy or something. Yeah.
But nothing, nothing quite to that. All right, we have like 4 more minutes. I want to address this. I'm getting a scam call. Anybody if you can't tell.
It says scam call,
How
right?
many are you getting these now?
So it says scam likely.
This is my 8th today.
I was getting a lot for a while and then they stopped all of a sudden. I don't remember why I was getting them or who they were trying to say it was, but there's a lot of scams out there, man. Like in general.
The Easy Pass one.
The Easy Pass one was big, and I think that was getting a lot of people.
It was because they started off more believable. I saw a couple of memes where one was the number up top was like ABC 7894 scam.us. So like, I'm sorry if you fell for
They're
that.
really
one.
getting lazy.
Yeah, like
Really getting lazy.
I don't
with
feel
that
too
one.
bad, but I can totally see for older people, like if you get a message saying you owe money to the to
The
Pennsylvania.
government, yeah.
Yeah. And,
Well, it's funny that you bring that up. So I was at Best Buy the other day, and like I understand there was like this young guy working, and he was just trying to do his job,
Yeah.
upsell, do whatever. He had this guy that was like ancient buying a headset for his like grandson,
Yeah.
right? The guy was easily like late 80s,
okay.
walking around with a walker and everything.
Oh, jeez.
This kid goes to him, "Sir, I see that you're one of our members. Would you like to apply for our credit
Oh, my
card?"
God. Come
I'm
on.
like, you are not asking this man if he wants to apply for a credit card. And the guy's like, no more credit cards.
Yeah.
And like the kid starts coaxing him into it. I'm like, you're taking it. This is elder abuse. You're taking
he's
you're taking
88.
control of this guy. Like he has no idea what's going on. He was trying to pay for his headset for his grandson with his license.
Oh
was in
my
his-
God.
And he goes, "Oh, that's not my credit card. I keep it in the same slot." And I'm like, "Oh
I
man,
really
this
hope
poor
he didn't
guy."
drive there.
So he didn't wind up getting the credit card because apparently he had like a credit lock on his account that he never
Good.
knew about.
Somebody
I bet like
stepped
his
in.
power of attorney probably
Yes.
put it on there because he was getting too many credit cards.
Yes. His son or daughter probably saw like the DraftKings credit card. He was like,
Yeah.
all right, this is
It's
enough.
like really, I mean, like I get sales can be a competitive industry, but that's where you're going to make your sale
Yeah,
on. Like
from this old
there's-
man.
maybe I have too many morals for sales, but like I can't
No.
cross that line.
When you said the first one, like, I mean, look, that my 9 to 5 is sales, and like I do understand that there are things that you have to do. So if he gets in trouble for not asking every customer to join a credit card, I get the first ask
Yeah,
because
he, like,
he
pushed.
might have to do that.
yeah,
When he goes, no, I'm okay. Well, sir, we have a 0%. That's
yeah.
where he lost.
Yeah, yeah, he like really pushed this guy for it.
'Cause
And the guy,
first ask would just be keeping the boss man.
the guy couldn't even use the pin pad to like put his information in, and I'm like,
nuts.
come on.
He probably tried to tap his debit card and his head exploded.
In the same sentence that he's telling this guy about his credit card, he's asking him. He found out the guy was a veteran. He's asking him about his time overseas, and I'm like, what is going on here?
Yeah,
Like, this whole situation is just way out of left field. And I wanted to tell the kid, I'm like, hey, dude, I just want to buy something. Like, let's let the old man go.
yeah. Can you move him along? Like, if he was in Vietnam, he's not signing up for credit cards. Let's just make that incredibly clear. You could make the argument if he was in Vietnam, you should comp him the headphones. But he's not. What kind of headphones did he buy?
It was like Razer, like gaming headphones. That's my
Oh.
point. They were like,
So
for-
someone told him what to buy.
yeah, it was for like definitely somebody. Maybe I could be wrong. Maybe this guy's like out there playing Call of Duty in his free time. I don't
He was
think
into
so.
shit, man. He knows.
Yeah, I don't think that's the case. But maybe I'm
We
wrong.
got Charlie.
Yeah. So
No, that's good at least. Like, I'm glad that they didn't keep that. You're right. That is fucked up.
It was like elder abuse for sure.
Like I gotta say, when I asked what headphones he got, part of the reason I asked was I could picture like those old Philips plastic ones with like the little padding that
like, gives him to his grandson. Gee, thanks, Grandpa.
Yeah. He asked for like Turtle Beaches or something.
Like,
oh, I got you. Philips, best on the market. It's got like
I remember when these first came out.
Yeah, this has skip protection. Grandpa.
We don't even use Grandpa.
Exactly. You can still buy a Walkman.
Well, with his grandson being like definitely Gen Z or whatever, Gen Alpha maybe. I don't even know what the newest one is. They're probably like, what's a CD?
Yeah. You can still, if you look really hard at Best Buy, they have CD players.
They never made sense to me because even when they were current technology, it was terrible. You're taking a run and it skips. Yeah, you're in the car, it skips.
Yeah.
You're taking a run, it skips. Like a Walkman actually made sense because cassettes didn't skip like that.
Yeah.
But like they had their own problems. Yeah. But yeah, like
you tune into radio on a Walkman too. Was that? Didn't they have it?
I don't know. Maybe some of them you could. I have no idea.
I used. It wasn't a Walkman. I had one where you could like tune into the radio.
They're like a little bit before our time. I mean, like we wouldn't have had much access to that as like teenagers. I had access to that as like a child.
Yeah, I remember when Radio Shack was still banging. They had these over-ear headphones that you could tune into the radio, which was like the original Bluetooth headphone. So I had those at a point. But yeah, the CD ones, and they were always inverted, which they told you they're like, okay, well, don't hold these upside down. But then, unless you're going to walk around like you're holding a pizza, like that's how they lift. It made no sense.
It really doesn't make any sense.
So yeah, Philadelphia Parking Authority and the people at Sony, get your shit together.
Exactly, and that's our rant. But I think we're probably just about out of time here.
Mm-hmm. It went over just a tad. Way to hang out to dry in the middle of a sip there. But for this week, I'm Brandon. That's Chris. And we're the Whiskey Gingers.
Thanks,
See you in
guys.
2 weeks. I was halfway through a beer.